Right, understanding decimal place value. This video sort of follows on from the video that was called Understanding Whole Number Place Value, or Understanding Place Value with Whole Numbers. So you will see some of the slides that are quite familiar. It's pretty straightforward, guys. I just need to do a little bit of revision. When we talk about digits from the previous video, you will know there are 10 digits. There aren't any others other than those in our number system. Those are the only digits we have. And when we take those digits and we put them in certain places, it affects how much they are worth. So we know, and you've seen this before probably, we have these decimal columns, ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, and so on. If we are talking about place value, we simply mean what place is the digit in. That 4 has a place value of 100,000s. That 1 has a place value of hundreds. That 0 has a place value of thousands. That 0 has a place value of tens. That 2 has a place value of ones. What's more important for me is that you understand value. Place values is something we teach students just to get them to understand how numbers work. But if you understand value, then you understand place value. And value, quite simply, is how much is something worth? How much is a digit worth? We all understand worth because it relates very well to money. How much money did you get on your birthday party from your nana or anything like that? You know what money's worth. So if we look at here, we know that this 4 on its own is worth 400,000 on its own. This 3 on its own is 30,000, 30,000. So the value, the worth of that 3 is 30,000. This 6, yes, it has a place value of hundreds, but its value is 600. This 0 we said had a place value of, well, we didn't actually, but this 0 has a place value of tens, but its value is 0. It's not worth anything, even though it is in the tens column. So let's move on to decimal place value. Before, if you have a look at this slide, you'll see the decimal pointers over there. Everything we did in the last video was to the left of the decimal point. We kind of ignored everything over here. Well, now we're not going to ignore it. Now we're going to actually look at that. We're pretty much being focused with the whole numbers. We are going to now work with whole numbers and decimal fractions on the right-hand side of the decimal point. So whereas in the past we kind of ignored these, focused on these, just for this part of the learning, we're going to kind of focus on these 3 columns here. I do introduce this column every now and again, but you know whole numbers by now. So we're going to ignore all of the columns going that way and all the columns going that way, just for purposes of our learning here. So there's your ones, tens, hundreds, thousands. And we are going to have a look at the columns. Now, this column just on this side of the decimal point, this one here, it's called the tenths column. And the THS on the end is very, very important. Now, if you've done any fractions work with me, you will know the pizza story. I have a pizza and I cut it up into 10 equal pieces. Each one of those pieces is called a tenth. This is where they go. Hundredths. I have a pizza. I cut it into 100 equal pieces. Each one of those pieces is called a hundredth, and this is where they go. There are my whole pizzas, or my whole numbers. So if I put a 1 in there, I'm talking about one number, the number 1, one pizza, 1 kilogram, $1, whatever that 1 represents. There's the whole ones. Here is where your dollar has been taken, cut up into 10 equal pieces. And if you have 5 of them, you would have 5 in there. That's 5 tenths. Okay, so let's have a look. If you look at this number 3.2, and I said to you, what is the place value of the 2? The place value of the 2 is tenths. Remember, the minute you hear that word place, is what place is it in? It's in this place, the tens place. That 5, 3.25, its place value is hundredths. So it's in the place which we called a hundredths. Now let's compare that to what their values are. And by the way, that 3's place value is 1's. If I said to you, what was the value? Now remember, when you don't hear that word place in front of value, the word value means what is it worth? What is this 2 worth? And you can write that in a number of ways. You could write it out in words, or you could write it as a fraction, or you could write it as a decimal fraction. So if I say to you, what is the value of that 2 on its own, its value would be, well, that would have to become a 0, 0.2, or you could write it as 2 tenths, 2 over 10, or you could write 2 tenths in words. That 5 there, what is it worth? What is its value? Well, remember, whenever we look at something's worth on its own, we've got to ignore the value of the 2 and ignore the value of the 3. So this would be 0.05. The value of that 5 is 0.05, or 5 hundredths, 5 over 100, or 5 hundredths written in words. Okay, what is the value of the 2? Here I'm going to show you what it actually looks like. It's 2 tenths. See that? 2 tenths, or 0.2. 0.2. Now, you could have put a 0 here as well, but you don't need to do that. So it would be the same value, but written differently. Look at what is the value of the 5. Okay, so we did say it's worth 0.05 or 5 tenths. What does it look like? Sorry, 5 hundredths. My mistake, 5 hundredths. 5 hundredths. You see that? 5 hundredths. 5 hundredths. Or 0.05. 0.05. Okay, so you will need, you could possibly do this in your head and just say the answers. What I'll do every time is I'll just give a brief pause, or you can pause the video if you need time to think. Remember, that's the whole point of these guys. If you need thinking time, just pause, and when you're ready to carry on, do so. Right, the number is 1.2. My question is, what is the value of the 2? Right. Your answer should be either 2 tenths, written 2 over 10, or 2 tenths written in words, or 0.2. 3.24. My question is, what is the place value of the 4? The place value of the 4. And your answer should be hundredths. If you said 4 hundredths, you've given me value. So you probably still understand it. You've just confused the two terms. What is the place value of the 0? What is the place value of the 0? Think about it. Pause if you need to. Right, the answer is tenths. You could have written the word T-E-N-T-H-S, or you could have written 1 over 10 as a fraction. You could actually have written 0.1, but I don't want to get into that and confuse you. Right. What is the value of the 9? What is the value of the 9? Pause if you need to. Okay, the answer is that 9 has a value of 0.09, or you could have said 9 hundredths in words, or you could have written the fraction 9 hundredths, 9 over 10, 9 over 100. I don't like to say 9 over 100, but for this video, just imagine 9 over 100, 9 hundredths, 0.09. 0.12. What is the place value of the 0? What is the place value of the 0? That should be quite easy. That's just our good old friend, the ones column, right? So the place value is 1, or ones, or wholes, if you like. The value of that 0 is 0. It's worth nothing. It's just sitting there showing us that there's nothing there. 6.20. What is the value of the 0? What is the value of the 0? Now, you could have said 0 hundredths, and you'd be correct, because it is 0 hundredths, because 0 of anything is 0. If you just said 0, that's also correct. But I'd say those are the only two answers you could have. Its value, it's not worth anything, it's just sitting there. What is the value of the 9 over here? What is the value of this 9? Pause if you need to. Right, the value of that 9 on its own would be either 9 tenths, in other words 9 over 10 as a fraction, or 0.9. If you wrote 0.90, that's okay, but you don't need to do that, because 0.9 is 9 tenths, 0.90 is actually 90 hundredths, which is an equivalent fraction, but yeah. 0.08, value of the 8. What is the value of that 8? Remember, the minute you hit just value is how much is it worth? Think about it, pause if you need to. Right. The answer is that 8 is worth 8 hundredths, or 0.08, as you see it on the screen in front of you, or 8 hundredths written in words. Right. What is the place value of the 5? The place value of the 5. Answer, it is hundredths written in words, HUNDREDTHS, or you could have written 0.01, but again, I don't think we need to worry about that. Now, if you got, there were 10 of those, and if you made a few mistakes and you think you've really got it now, just go back to that part of the video and watch it again. From here, the next video will be about converting between fractions written like this, because that is a fraction. Remember, there's my whole numbers. These are tenths. We know that if we take a pizza and cut it up into 10 equal pieces, that's where they go. So this is a fraction. These are everything on the right-hand side of this decimal point is fractions. Everything to that side is whole numbers. If you need some work on that, I have a video called Understanding the Decimal Point that makes that very, very clear. Hope you found that helpful, guys. If you need to watch it again, do so. That's the great thing about these videos. You can watch them over and over until you get it.